ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Jai Guru. Yeah, I'm just getting the right page. Just give me a minute. So yesterday we did up until here, the 51st verse. I'll just run through the last bit of it. So liberation is not after death. The verse was the 51st verse. कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्. The wise, endowed with the attitude of karma yoga, having given up the results of action, free from the bondage of birth, indeed accomplish the end that is free from all affliction. So liberation is not after death. This we read yesterday. This verse tells us that what we can accomplish here while we are alive, not in the form of sense gratification, but in terms of a pursuit that is meaningful in this life itself. The word pada here means that which is to be accomplished. It also means a word, that by which something is known. Mere sound is not pada. From the word, a given object must be understood. What I say, you must be able to understand. Then only is there a language. The word has a meaning, and that meaning is understood by everyone. Any word in any language is a pada. It is not used in this sense here in this verse. Here, it means that which is accomplished by knowledge. The word pada in this sense is famous in Sanskrit literature. For example, there is a mention Vishnu Param Padam, Paramam Padam, meaning the greatest abode of the Lord Vishnu, the one who is all pervasive. That all pervasive Vishnu Padam is moksha, liberation or freedom, and that freedom is gained now while living. In the verse under study, pada is qualified by another word, anamaya. Any problem is called amaya. Anamaya is defined by Shankara as that which is free of all problems. Sarva upadrava rahita. This includes all the problems starting from nagging onwards. Any kind of affliction is called upadrava. Thus, anamaya means that you are free from all afflictions. I am afflicted is a notion that everyone has. I am a product of my own past, and therefore I am afflicted. Everyone has this notion about himself or herself, and from this notion, the person becomes free. Knowing that I am limitless Brahman, I am not afflicted by anything because there is nothing other than Brahman. There is nothing else to afflict me. Therefore, I am free of all afflictions while living here in the world. This knowledge then is really something. It is more than just something. It is the thing. And whatever we do is only for the purpose of gaining this knowledge of oneself. In the next verse, Krishna told Arjuna that he would attain this when his mind was no longer deluded. So, what is that one thing? Is knowing that I am limitless Brahman and I am not afflicted by anything because there is nothing other than Brahman. There is nothing else to afflict me. Therefore, I am free of all afflictions. And when does this happen? When should this happen? While living here in the world, not after death. This knowledge then is really something. It is more than just something, it is the thing. And whatever we do is only for the purpose of gaining this knowledge of oneself. So, yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatidarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Yada, when te, your buddhihi, intellect, moha kalilam, impurity of delusion, vyatitar, vyatitarishyati, crosses over, tada then, shrotavyasya, for what is to be heard, shrutasya, for what has been heard, cha, and nirvedam, dispassion, gantasi, you shall gain. यदा ते बुद्धिः मोहकलिलं व्यतितरिष्यति तदा श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च निर्वेदं गन्तासि. When your intellect crosses over the impurity of delusion, then you shall gain a dispassion towards what has been heard and what is yet to be heard. Delusion is in the form of absence of discrimination, viveka. The lack of discrimination, aviveka, makes a person go towards objects and not towards the self, the Atma. The person's mind goes towards objects as though they're going to take him to the Atma. Even though the solution to my problem is myself, I always think of it as being elsewhere, outside of me. There is no greater delusion in this world than wanting a solution to a problem that is centered on the I and expecting the solution to be outside of the I. This great delusion, Mahamoha, is due to a lack of understanding of what I am about, what the world can give, what my problem is, what I really want, and so on. The impurity, kalila, of this delusion is what is given up by discriminating between the Atma and the Anatma. Atma Anatma Viveka. The verse goes on to say that when your mind is no longer under the spell of moha, you gain dispassion, vairagya, with reference to what you have heard and what you have yet to hear. You have heard about a lot of means and ends. These are shruta. They're all on your list of things to do later. Then there are a few more means and ends that you have not yet heard about. They are to be heard later. Shrotavya. They all come under the heading of Shrotavya when you think, I think I should read this and find out. This passion towards what you have heard and will hear extends also to everything that is known to you. Such dispassion is really very beautiful. Suppose you decide to gain self-knowledge, moksha. You have developed a great value for this knowledge and have completely dismissed everything that you have so far come to know as desirable ends. Because they do not solve your problem, you no longer have a value for them and have dismissed them. The only thing you want now is moksha. Suppose, however, someone comes and tells you that there is something more interesting than moksha. What will you do? One's dispassion can be shaky. If you are a practical person, you may have to give up self-knowledge. This means that your viveka is incomplete and your vairagya is shaky. Everyone has vairagya until something more interesting comes along. Similarly, our plans for gaining self-knowledge vanish along with our dispassion when we are confronted with something we think of as rosier and more promising than moksha. We give up moksha and go after whatever it is. This is a clear indication that discrimination is lacking. It is not that dispassion is lacking. Our discrimination is lacking, and therefore our dispassion is shaky. I was once asked what I would do if, having devoted my life to Shankara, a new philosopher came along and dismissed what Shankara had said. I replied that Shankara was a teacher, I am, and I am not a Shankarite. I am a sadhu, a sannyasi in this tradition of teaching sampradaya. For us, Shankara is only a link. He never said that he was starting a new philosophy. He was just a teacher, a link in the chain. This is reflected in the verse that all students of Vedanta chant daily, which is who is the first guru in the introduction? Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam, right? So he is only a link. He never said that he was starting a new philosophy. He was just a teacher, a link in the chain. This is reflected in the verse that all students of Vedanta chant daily. It says, I salute the lineage of teachers that begins with Sadashiva, which has Shankara in the middle, and that has my teacher at its end. There is no Shankaraism here. There is only the teaching and a means of knowledge, pramana, in the form of words called Upanishads, also known as Vedanta. Suppose someone tries to say something that is better than what Shankara said, or something that proves what Shankara said was wrong. For a person with discrimination, there will be no context for such statements because Shankara says exactly what is said in the Upanishads. They tell you that you are Brahman, that you are the whole. Who is going to improve on this? Who is going to dismiss it? No one can dismiss it and no one can improve it. Try dismissing that you are the whole. The teacher is very clear about it and the Shastra is very clear about it. That you are the whole is not subject to your dismissal because you already know that only through the Shastra can you appreciate that you are the whole. How then are you going to dismiss it? It is not available for any other pramana. That I am the whole is already established by the Shastra, and that it cannot be dismissed is very clear. If the statement I am the whole cannot be dismissed or improved upon, I cannot be enticed by a new philosophy which gives me a supposedly better idea about myself. Already the Upanishad has given me the last word. It says, I am limitless, I am infinite, I am Brahman, I am the whole, I am all that is here. Who is going to improve on this? No one can improve Satchit Ananda, nor can anyone dismiss it because it is myself. There is nothing better possible. Anything that you're going to come to know later will not disturb your dispassion either. You will have the same dispassion towards what you come to know in the future as you have towards what you know now. Whatever comes will be from the world, which has no independent existence apart from Brahman. Nothing can come from outside the world, and nothing more can come from Brahman because it is one, Eka. Knowing this is what is meant by Viveka, discrimination. Once you do not have moha in you, when your values are very clear, when you understand the delusion of human pursuits, then you will discover in yourself a dispassion, nirveda, towards what is to be heard, shrotavya, and what has been heard, shruta, whether it is from the Veda or from any other source. This was the point Krishna wished to make very clear to Arjuna in this verse. So, what is the delusion of human pursuits? Is that instead of going towards the self, the Atma, we reach out to the Anatma in search of the Atma. We reach out to the world thinking we will find Atma there. It is like that old lady searching for that needle outside of the house. She's lost the needle inside the house, but she's there searching for it outside. So that is the great delusion. That is the lack of discrimination, lack of viveka. So let me know if we will discuss this before we go on to the next ones.
I
So what?
just I
Yeah,
just joined, but that Shrotavya and that those sentences are there, no? That paragraph you can read again. Means how is to heard and everything.
Jai Gurudev. Ramaraji, Shrotavya, only one sense is given. It means it is applicable even for other senses as well, right?
other senses in the sense.
Like what we see, because the example is of reading, it is given.
Hmm.
But in shloka, it is Shrotavya and what is to be heard and what is heard, right?
Right.
So
See, the
is it
very
applicable
fact,
for tongue and I mean the taste, the what we say vacha also and other actions as well? Or here it is more emphasized only for the Shrutavya part and Shruta.
if you look at the definition of dispassion, the definition of um vairagya, vairagya is based on what Patanjali says. I forget the Sanskrit verse there, but it is developing a dispassion toward what is heard, because normally it is through the words that we actually get into passion. We hear about something, and then
Hmm,
that
true,
starts off,
correct.
and then the
So
other
the
senses
base.
come. The way we are exposed to the world is through shabda first, right? It is through shabda that we hear. For instance, someone says
Correct.
this movie is very good. You've just heard about it. That
Hmm,
hearing develops into, transforms into a passion. Oh, I want to watch it. So that
hmm,
desire, it initially begins with that sound, with that what is heard. That is why in
correct.
Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the definition of dispassion, um, let me see if I can get that online.
Yeah, very nice. It is got it, Brahmaraji. Very apt. Um, we usually have first through the through Karna only. I mean, through ears only. We everything enters.
That is also true, but when we see something, means from all senses we can hear also okay, what I want. Means thought arise and everything happens like that I wanted. Means I related like that. So I wanted that whole paragraph to read again. Means it is so subtle, no?
See, dispassion is the conscious mastery of the control over desires for objects seen, perceived, or heard. This is the definition in English, but let me get the Sanskrit version.
दृष्टानुश्रविक विषय
Ah,
वितृष्णस्य वशीकार
thank you.
संज्ञा वैराग्यम.
Thank you. So he includes also Drishtanu Vishaya. So you're right, Bela. So that here, I think it includes even all the other senses.
Okay. Dhanyavad, Pramadaji. Very
Yeah.
beautiful it is.
So when your intellect crosses over the impurity of delusion, then you shall gain a dispassion towards what has been heard and what is yet to be heard. So delusion is in the form of absence of discrimination. Viveka, the lack of discrimination, aviveka, makes a person go towards objects and not towards the self, the Atma. The person's mind goes towards objects as though they are going to take him to the Atma. Even though the solution to my problem is myself, I always think of it as being elsewhere, outside of me. There is no greater delusion in this world than wanting a solution to a problem that is centered on the I and expecting the solution to be outside of the I. This great delusion, Mahamoha, is due to a lack of understanding of what I am about, what the world can give, what my problem is, what I really want, and so on. The impurity, Kalila, of this delusion is what is given up by discriminating between the Atma and the Anatma. Atma Anatma Viveka. The verse goes on to say that when your mind is no longer under the spell of moha, you gain dispassion, vairagya, with reference to what you have heard and what you have yet to hear. You have heard about a lot of means and ends. These are shruta. They are all on your list of things to do later. Then there are few more means and ends that you have not yet heard about. They are to be heard later, Shrotavya. They all come under the heading of Shrotavya when you think I should read this and find out. Dispassion towards what you have heard and will hear extends also to everything that is known to you. Such dispassion is really very beautiful. Suppose you decide to gain self knowledge moksha. You have developed a great value for this knowledge and have completely dismissed everything that you have so far come to know as desirable ends. Because they do not solve your problem, you no longer have a value for them and have dismissed them. The only thing you want now is moksha. Suppose, however, someone comes and tells you that there is something more interesting than moksha, what will you do? If you follow them, you follow that, you've heard something and then you follow that, then your dispassion is shaky. That can become shaky. So, coming back to this, this can be understood with respect to just being on the path, the different means and ends, the different ways that are there in order to reach moksha. That is one. Or it could mean completely like getting lost in the anatma, taking the world of the whole world, materialistic world, as different desires, means, and ends to be fulfilled. So if we look at it only with respect to uh, the spiritual path, even here we have so many means and ends, so many paths, so many masters. So there are so many out there, right? So the mind generally would want to go from whatever is heard. You tend to develop a raga towards that and say, "Oh, I will have to do this later," or I will. It's there on your to-do list.
Even in the scriptures, the most of the portion is occupied by the karma kanda, no? So they all lead to this knowledge, but a very small portion is of this Vedic
Vedanta.
knowledge. Yeah, Vedanta. So all that means and ends. Person here, and then he tries to evolve himself, and then he hears something else, then he uh, go after that.
Correct. That is why here that Vyavasayatmika Buddhi is so important. And that comes with that discrimination. Only when one knows what Atma is, at least has the concept of what Atma is and what one is seeking. So the seeker, the sought is I. But instead of going inward, instead of going towards the Atma, if one just goes about whatever one hears, like you do this puja and then you get this, or you do that homa and you get that. I'm not belittling any of that, but in a deeper sense, we are somewhere getting lost in the world of objects, in the anatma. Because we think that by gaining that, I'm going to be happy. Rather than becoming karma yogis, we're becoming kamya yogis, and not even a yogi then. We're doing kamya karma with a desire in end. It's an end, a desire which is based on achieving a known end.
Yesterday, I was just contemplating on what we did yesterday, and today further it got whatever we did today. One example came to my mind, like a newborn infant. Once we feed it with milk, then we want to burp it. And when we are burping it, the child vomits out a little bit on our shoulder, or that infant urinates. Now we take that absolutely in our stride. There's nothing happening to us. We feel that that infant is going to do this and we accept it. The same when it happens to the child growing up and it becomes a teenager and leaves the room messy or the dining table messy or does not clean up after his dinner. We don't have that kind of dispassion that we had when that infant, when we were trying to burp it, vomited on us. Once we develop that, universally teenagers are like this. They will they will not clean up the dinner table. They will not clean up their room. It's a universal phenomena. Once that dispassion comes to us, even if we want to clean up the room or we want to clean up, we will not do it in an angry framework of mind. We will not lose our mental equilibrium. So I just thought of this infant, like, can we not, how we don't have to forgive the infant also because we were not shaken by that incident. It just happens that the infant does this. So similarly, if you could, I'm not saying don't take corrective action. You can sit down and talk to your children, tell them firmly without getting angry. And there, that mental equilibrium, that discriminating power, the viveka, the vairagya, is so important. We want things in a certain way, and that disillusionment causes us to get all the negative emotions. And then our relationships suffer. So the whole crux is Atma will be when you have that oneness with everybody. Then only you can realize Atma. There is no Dwight left. There is no difference whether it's your husband, it's your child, or anything. We are all one. Jai Gurudev.
You're very right. So we have this concept that this is how the world should be. And that's we getting stuck in that concept is what creates all this this delusion. That if I get this, I will be happy. In this example that you mentioned, if my teenager keeps the room clean or if he cleans up after, I will be happy. Of course, that is, as a parent, you would have that, you want to inculcate that sense of responsibility in your teenager. And the lack of that responsibility coming from the teenager is a little painful to you. But then you sit down, like you said, and talk to him. It is not like you accept him like you accept a newborn. A newborn does not have any control over he's still the viveka and the mind is still to develop. The little baby is just like a little puppy, like a little animal that has no intellect that is developed. But a teenager is a fully grown young adult who requires that sense of, who needs to have that sense of responsibility. And as a parent, it's our responsibility to let him or her know about it. But in spite of you speaking up and talking to them, if it continues, then you will have to do that. You go with that Sama, Dana, Bheda, Danda. Those four different varieties of how to, get your child to discipline your child. That's fine. But what you said is very right, is that your mental equilibrium, your inner peace should not get disturbed.
I still remember my son was very, very small in primary school or whatever, and he's handicapped. He's born deaf. And this children, when they come home, even I think even the other regular children also, they throw their shoes. They'll put one here, one there, anywhere in the room. They just toss the shoes. They'll toss their bag. My wife told my son, "This is the place for the shoes. You keep it there. If you don't do that, you toss them anywhere. I will throw them out." The second day he did it. Third day again she repeated. She took the shoes and went to the balcony and threw them down. And he started crying and all that. And she said, "No, you're not going to go downstairs and bring it back." From next day onwards, he started keeping his shoes in their proper place. The lesson was learned. She was firm. She was not angry. She told him that she would do that. So these are the kind of sanskars when you give from early childhood. You don't pamper the child also. Once you pamper the child, then the child grows big and then he no more listens to you. So being firm rather than being angry with your children. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah. So I think with respect to this paragraph, the one that is what we have heard and what is yet to hear, you have heard about a lot of means and ends. These are Shruta. They are all on your list of things to do later. Then there are few more means and ends that you have not yet heard about. They are to be heard later, Shrotavya. They all come under the heading of Shrotavya. When you think, I think I should read this and find out. Dispassion towards what you have heard and will hear extends also to everything that is known to you. Such dispassion is really very beautiful. So I think this answers your question, Bela, when you talk about whether it is what we see, what we hear, what we based on the other senses. So this dispassion towards what you've heard and will hear extends also to everything that is known to you. So, and what is known to us is through all our five senses. So,
Yes, Brahmaraji,
correct?
correct.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
includes everything. Such dispassion is really very beautiful. That is why even Gurudev says, by doing a lot of things, you're not going to get there. The whole art is about letting go, and that is that dispassion. And here, Swamiji further describes how, when you are steadfast in your on the path, and you want moksha as the only thing that you want is moksha, even if someone else comes and tells you that there is someone better than, for instance, Shankara, this you are following the sampradaya, Advaita sampradaya, and Gurudev makes it very clear. As long as you're following the Advaita sampradaya, that is fine. But then there may be some other, say, another sampradaya, and then you hear about it. If you, if your mind starts going towards that and you want to do that, that would mean that your dispassion is shaky. So we should have that viveka that, yes, this is what the Shastra says, that is that I am whole. All I need to do is continue to be with this, with what the Shastra says. I'm convinced that this is the truth. And punaha, come back to this knowledge to purify the intellect and continue to live the life of a karma yogi. So the path is laid out, the means is clear, the end is clear. So nothing else will delude us from moving away from the path. So
Hari Om,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I still feel that Anjaneya's very beautiful shloka, no? That I do not remember the shloka, but like as long as I am in this Deha Buddhi, means with all my senses, then I consider you as separate from me. I mean, that time I am your dasa. As long as I am in my Atma Buddhi, that time you and me are same. So we all are, as long as we are in this worldly thing, samsara. Sometimes, I mean, this is, it's totally my own perception, huh? My own understanding. Deha Buddhi, we are most of the time we are in with all the doership, but at the same time, the knowledge brings us back to that Atma Buddhi as well, that you are not the doer, you are not the karta, and you let go the things. It will be momentary. I forgot that shloka. I'm not able to recall. Yeah.
So once you do not have moha in you, when your values are very clear, when you understand the delusion of human pursuits, then you will discover in yourself a dispassion, nirveda, towards what is to be heard, shrotavya, and what has been heard, shruta, whether it is from the Veda or from any other source. This was the point Krishna wished to make very clear to Arjuna in this verse.
This Nirveda word has become, I mean, same as Vairagya, Brahmaraji?
Yeah, Nirveda is same as Vairagya.
Okay.
श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यसि निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि. Yada, when, te, your, shruti vipratipanna buddhihi, mind generally distracted by the Vedas, which present various means and ends to be gained, achala, firmly established, samadhau, in the Atma, oneself, nischala, steady, sthasyasi, will remain, tada, then, yogam, self-knowledge, avapsyasi, you shall gain. यदा ते श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना बुद्धिः अचला समाधौ निश्चला स्थास्यति तदा yogam avapsyasi. When your mind is no longer distracted by the Vedas, which present various means and ends to be gained, it will remain steady, firmly established in the self. Then you will gain self-knowledge. This verse points out a further gain brought about by dispassion and also sums up the whole teaching. The Veda, Shruti, talks about various means for achieving various ends. These means and ends are described so beautifully and so elaborately that one's mind becomes confused. Vipratipanna. There seem to be so many means and ends for me to accomplish, and they keep on increasing. Thus, the list of things to be done also keeps on increasing, and I become confused by the Shruti. When, however, your mind becomes one, meaning when you have determined what is to be gained, you are not easily shaken by the various means and ends enjoined by the Shruti. Just as any hype about a particular brand of shampoo has no effect on a bald headed person, you will not at all be shaken by anything because you have already set your heart on an end that includes all means and ends. We have seen that all means and ends are limited and that what we are really seeking is freedom from any limitation whatsoever. When we know this, everything becomes very simple. The mind being definite about what it wants, it stays without being shaken, without being assailed, swayed, or swept away by anything, no matter how seemingly attractive it may be. Sthasyati nischala. Not only is such a mind unable to be swayed, it is single pointed, eka, with reference to the goal. This attitude of the mind is karma yoga. When your goal is very clear to you, the hold that your raga dveshas previously had on you is released and your mind, buddhi, is steady. Shankara defines samadhi in his commentary on this verse as that into which everything resolves. Atma, Samyak adhiyate chittam asmin iti samadhi. Atma, he thus makes it very clear that the word samadhi means Atma in this context. When your mind is no longer distracted by the various ends and means prompted by your raga dveshas, because the goal is very clear to you, it will remain steady, firmly established in the self Atma. Then you will gain self knowledge. The first line of the verse itself indicates that the person is a mumukshu, one who seeks moksha, liberation. A mumukshu may continue to be in the field of activity as a karma yogi, or he or she may take to the life of renunciation or as a sannyasi. These are the only choices a mumukshu has. When the mind is no longer swept away or confused by the Shruti, which talks about various means and ends, it becomes steady and definite about what is to be accomplished. Moksha through knowledge of the self. This steadiness is karma yoga, and the karma yogi is a mumukshu. I think we will stop here today. We'll do the possibility of doubt from tomorrow. So, here it is very clear. So, what the Shrotavyasya and Shrutavyasya that is mentioned in the previous verse is to be understood here, because we are, it is to be, one way of understanding is that whatever the Shruti says, the various means and ends that are there in the Karma Kanda aspect. So, once your mind is set on moksha, then you do not get swayed by all the beautiful, flowery, enticing words of the Shruti. So this person is already a mumukshu. So he's not going towards artha and dharma, kama and artha. He's a mumukshu. Shruti viprati pannate yada sthasyasi nischala samadha vachala buddhihi tada yogama vapsyasi.
But he said karma yogi or sannyasi. So here he cannot only be the samadhi sthiti, means he can have a artha and that two other things. He can also have same time, no? Mumukshu is okay, but at the same time he is doing all other things also for the survival and everything.
Yeah, so that is only need-based living.
Need based living.
It
And
is
there is
not
no
living.
Veda in the Buddhi. And whatever he heard by Shruti means he knows that ki what is the mumukshutva, so he is so steady there.
Yeah, he is clear. His priorities are set. And the means is also set. The karma yogi not only does actions with an attitude of a karma yogi, he is also pursuing knowledge. He's pursuing Vedanta. He's pursuing the Sampradaya. So he is not swayed by the Sampradaya. So in the previous verse where the person is ask Swami, you're following Shankara. So would you, if someone else comes and refutes Shankara, what would you do? So he says there is no, Shankara is not setting up a new philosophy. He is only a link. This Sampradaya is coming from Sadashiva. And this Advaita Sampradaya is what is being followed. So you're not following a cult. It is not a cult. So that discrimination you have. And it is with that same discrimination that we also, as part, or all of us, are in the art of living. The very fact that we're able to read this and stay with this is because we have this discrimination. Because what Swamiji is talking about from the whole of Gita Manana is also aligned with the Advaita Sampradaya. That is why we do not have, this small group of us, do not have this confusion between, oh, I should follow only what Gurudev says. No, Gurudev himself has given us that liberty. We read about Yoga Vashishta, which is authored by a different person. It is not authored by Gurudev, but he himself recommends it. So that discrimination is there, that we're following the sampradaya. So when that is clear in our mind, then, and at the end is also clear, moksha is what we want, then nothing else will distract us. Then the dispassion is strong and steady, it is not shaky. We'll brush aside. That I really like that example of how no matter how much of marketing is done for different kinds of shampoos, it has no effect on a person who is bald headed. He is unshaken. He's not enticed by those shampoos. So similarly, you know that the world, anatma, is not what you want. That is not your end. And that cannot fulfill your end. So a person who's a true mumukshu will brush aside all those means and ends that are mentioned. You do this, you will get that. You do this, you will get this. So he's not shaken by that. He's steadfast.
There is a total antakaran shuddhi only. That's why he is following that. Otherwise, he cannot move towards this path for mumukshatva also. No bedi buddhi means there is no means that dispassion and discretion so clear in his mind.
Should we stop here today? So we are on page 325. We'll just make a note of that for who's reading tomorrow.
Jai
Oh,
Gurudev, I'm sorry. I'm reading tomorrow. This is chapter 2, right?
chapter 2.
And verse 54 I should start, or I should continue with 53?
53, we've not finished 53. We're on page
Oh.
325.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Meditation is accepting this moment, living every moment totally with depth. Let us keep our spine erect and body relaxed and eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Keep a big smile on your face. You're sitting like the statue of Buddha, very serene, and with a serene smile on your face, relax your body. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your chest region, throat and chest region. If you notice some tension in the body, just let it be. Except those parts of the body where you feel a tension, the other parts are in comfort. Other parts are at peace. Become aware of that also. There are many good things about you and inside of you. Acknowledge them. They will never leave you. And the negative aspect you may see in you is never going to stay with you forever. They are all guests for some time. Let them be. Sit with the total acceptance of yourself the way you are at this very moment. Total acceptance of what is now here. Lead us to deeper meditation. Let go of all the effort. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let go of all your effort and be in this emptiness. And slowly and gradually become aware of body and surroundings. And you may gently open your
What is the name of this meditation?
It's called acceptance. You can, I'll send it to you. I'll put it on the group.
Thank you.